What's going on, guys? National Master James Canty III here with Chess.com, and today we have game of the day. Leela Chess 0 versus Stockfish. Let's get right into it. It's very exciting, and Leela Chess started with e4. Stockfish responds with c5. Now, guys, this game went 87 moves. Very long game, so let's get through all the moves. e4, c5, knight f3, knight to c6. d4, c takes, and knight takes d4. We have a standard Sicilian here. Usually positions start like this all the time with the d4 pawn and knight takes d4. In many Sicilians, as we know, knight f6, knight to c3, d6, and now, instead of anything else, we actually went with bishop to c4 here from Leela Chess, which is the Sozin part of the Scheveningen variation. So this is the Sozin, and the Sozin is very, very aggressive when you play bishop to c4, intending for sacrifices on f6 or even e6 if they do play it, and that's what Stockfish plays, e6 here. And sometimes you can sacrifice on e6. It just depends on what's going on. Usually it's more prone to be sacrificed on if you have knight b to d7 happening for black here. But in this position, we're still going to play on. We need to develop our pieces. We always have to develop no matter what opening we're playing. Bishop e3, bishop e7. Queen e2, queen's off the back rank, and now we're preparing to castle to either side. Most likely queen side in these type of positions. So after a6, intending b5, and just getting a counterplay going on the queen side, because we're probably going to have an opposite side castles here, and whoever gets to the king first in these kind of positions is going to win. So a6, castle queen side. Queen to c7, just putting some uncomfortable X-ray indirect pressure here on the king on c1. Also the bishop here that's slightly loose due to the queen only defending it once. And the queen really doesn't want to be here defending this that much. So after queen c7, we see bishop to b3. Then there's castles. Rook h to g1, and then knight d7. Now this rook h to g1 move I really like because it's X-raying the king here on the g file. We're also threatening g4. In many other cases, many things can happen here. Knight to d7, intending knight to c5, and also getting the knight out of the way. Maybe bishop f6 can happen and put this bishop on a very strong diagonal that's very close to the b2 pawn, which is close to the king. So we just want to start aiming on the side of the board. Let's see what white does. We intend g4. Again, whoever gets to the king first is going to win here. Black plays knight to c5, and now pause the video. What would you actually play here as Leela Chess? What would you play here as Leela Chess 0? White to move. If you chose knight f5, you are 100% correct. Wow, what a move. I didn't even see this. I didn't even think about it because knight f5 just looks so different. It doesn't even look like it's going to work, but it actually does. In many lines, of course, Leela Chess 0 is just a monster of a engine. But with knight f5 on the board here, Stockfish didn't even take it. And here's the thing, with knight f5, if we take this away, the problem here, there's an open g file. Bishop h6s are coming. Also, this pawn's going from e6, which is declaring space, or actually stopping anything from coming into the d5 square. Well, not anymore. The knight can go to d5 now and actually hit the queen and the bishop and intend on maybe even putting something on f6, bringing the queen over to h5. Oh my goodness, look at the arrows, right? And we're not done yet. So knight f5 is on the board. Very strong move here. And Stockfish says, I'm not taking that knight. b5. So knight takes e7 because we're not going to allow them to take it at the right moment. So we just eliminate the bishop here and get our knight off of f5 and put him on to e7. Queen takes e7, and then you want to make threats, so we make queen to d2, just better placing the queen, hitting d6, and also intending maybe even bishop g5 or h6. Let's see what black plays. Rook to d8 to defend. And then we have bishop g5. Beautiful move here. I like this. This move right here. Sometimes, guys, you have to provoke a weakness in the king's camp, in the castle's camp, in the castle side camp of your opponent, so that they have weaknesses. You have things you can hit, anchors and like pawn levers and stuff like that. So f6, and then bishop back to e3. We've provoked a weakness, and now after we provoke the weakness, well, now we're going to attack the weakness, the f6 pawn. g5, beautiful play here. Whoever gets to the king first is going to win. And it looks like white is in the driver's seat on this, preparing to open the g file. This bishop's a monster. We even have f4, maybe even swinging the queen over to help out as well. Let's see what happens next. b4, black is like, I need some counterplay right now. So Leela Chess takes on f6. Now, if we take on c3, that fails. Not to pawn takes c7, but actually to queen takes f6, which is defending the f6 pawn, also threatening rook takes g7 check, and threatening the queen at the same time. If the queen captures on f6, then we capture back ourselves on f6, and due to the pin on the g file, black just lost the queen. So g takes f6, queen takes f6. We don't want to go into the complications here. And Leela Chess is like, I need something to do here. Like, I don't have any really good moves besides just moving the knight. Knight to a4. Knight takes e4 is here. Queen to e2, rook f8, hitting the f2 pawn with just a little bit of pressure here. And then we bait them into bringing the queen in a little bit closer while also kicking the knight simultaneously. f3, queen takes f3, bishop takes e6 check, and then king to h8. All right, guys, right here, we're on move 23, and there's about 60 moves left from here. A lot of chess being played here. And I mean, you can almost, it's almost unbelievable the Stockfish or can survive, or anyone can survive this position. 60 more moves from here, guys. Now, in this position, Leela Chess played an awesome move. An awesome move, guys. What would you play in this position? Pause the video. Can you find the move that Leela Chess played in this position? Here we go, guys. Leela Chess played bishop h6. Whoa, what a move. Bishop h6. What is going on? Isn't my queen hanging? Yes, it is. But we don't care about that because checkmate is better. Bishop takes g7, checkmating the king on the spot. Beautiful move. And if pawn takes h6, well, tactics win games. Rook g8 check. And it's a diversion here. Rook has to take, and then queen takes f3, and we go up a queen. Like, really nice material balance there. Beautiful move. Stockfish says not today. Plays g5. Queen takes f3, rook takes f3, bishop takes g5. And then when we get to this position here, guys, you make a few moves, rook takes. Now look at this position. Black kind of got out of this. Now, of course, Stockfish is a very strong engine, as we know. But with that being said, guys, this is a pretty, not that it's equal, but Black's feeling a little bit better than what he was moves ago, almost getting crushed. So rook to g8, trying to trade. Rook g to e1. Put the rooks on the open files. It's always best to just put rooks on open files, right? Rook to f8, just defending the knight, and also rook to e7 is the next move for white here. So rook e7, hitting the bishop. We have the 7th rank. This h7 pawn's kind of weak. You just have to create threats and be very annoying to your opponent. Bishop to c8, coming to the better diagonal here. And then we have knight to b6, bishop g4. We're going to fly through some moves here, guys, because we do have 50 moves left even from here. Knight to d7, rook to c8. We trade a pair of rooks here. And now check this out, guys. Black to move. All right, am I taking the knight? Am I taking the knight on d7? Or am I taking the rook on d1? Which one am I playing? What would you play here if you were Stockfish, guys? Which way? Here we go. Black actually takes on d1 instead. If bishop takes d7, we have rook takes d6, hitting the bishop and the a6 pawn, and it's just a better winning in game actually here for white. It's going to take some technique, of course, but it is winning. So now we actually choose bishop takes d1, which is very interesting here. Now we do have two pieces for the rook here, and we're even on pawns. So we need a plan. You always need a plan. A bad plan is better than no plan at all. So here we need to make sure we try to trade some of the pawns off. We want to be left with a pawn or two, and we want to capture some of theirs so that we're up a pawn or two, and we're going to queen them based off the nature of the position. Let's see what happens. King takes d1, king to g7. Bishop to d5. I just centralized the bishop. Rook to c7, attack the knight. We move the knight, or actually we can play bishop to e6 too as well, but also knight b6 is a move, and knight to b8. But bishop to e6 was very nice. King to h6, and then king to d2, king g5. Knight b6, and now we're trying to swing the knight back around into play here. There was a lot of shuffling, so let's move through some moves here. Rook e7, bishop c4, hitting a6. We're also going to back up here and solidify the bishop, make it very strong here, while also hitting the h7 pawn. King h4, actually says, oh, you know what, my h pawn's defended, we're going to go for yours and try to snag this immediately. White's trying to grab as many pawns as we can, so we go knight to c4, attacking the d6 pawn, attacking the a5 pawn. h5 is played, and we're going to take the a5 pawn. Now here, I would actually take the d pawn. Of course, I think humans would do this, just taking the d pawn. It just feels like it's a little bit better here, but actually in a in-game sense, you think about it, guys, knight takes a5. We take this, these pawns are now separated. These were stronger, so if you take on d6, these are still a little bit strong. This is the best move. Knight takes a5, rook to c7, and then bishop to f1. Nice move here, cutting the king off from actually hitting the h2 pawn. So rook goes to f7. I want to get to that pawn as quickly as possible. And then we defend it. King e2, try again. Try again. Black says, well, rook a7. Knight to c4 now. And now, yeah, he can get a pawn here, but we can also grab one ourselves here. But he actually didn't take the pawn here. Stockfish did not take on a2 here. Many humans would take on a2, but Stockfish did not. And after king to g5, we actually just defended the pawn and says, no, you're not going to take it a second time. a3 is on the board, and then d5 happens. So if you move the knight, I take the pawn. So we have to move the knight if we want to keep material even, now, or even better here, keep the material advantage we have. Knight to e3, b takes a3, b takes a3, Rook a5, very nice in-between move, just defending, seeing what white's going to do. So we're going to just attack this pawn continuously. King to f4. We're going to take on d5 because it's with check. And here we go. Knight to b4. And we have now reached the position that we want, guys. We said we want to trade off pawns. We want to get to a position where we can queen some of these pawns. So let's see what happens here. This is the last piece or the pawn that we need to get rid of, or at least try to, in this sense. Black plays h4. He's coming to him just a little bit closer here, but sometimes that's not a good idea because knight e1 immediately is now threatening knight f3, trying to take on h4. So Stockfish replies, h3, you are not going to take this pawn that easy. After bishop to b7, which is a beautiful move, by the way. Just moving away from the action. The rook is definitely going to come threaten you. We go knight f3 first, and look at this beautiful move after knight f3. Bishop to e4, defending everything. The pawn on c2 is defended. The pawn on h2 is defended. The bishop defends the knight, and the king's going to come around and defend the bishop. So the king and the bishop are going to run over to the h file, grab that pawn, and we're going to queen both of them. That's the plan here. Let's see what happened. Bishop e4, rook to g7. King e3. Remember, we got to follow our plan here. It's time to take this pawn. Okay, king f4, rook h8. Both of these pawns, you can't touch them if you wanted to. Rook h8, bishop to f5. King c4, king g3. Rook g8 check. King takes h3. We are now up 2 pawns, and we're technically up a piece here. Okay, yeah, we're down in exchange, but up a piece, and we're feeling great. Let's see what happens. King to c3. King h4 by Leela Chess. King b4 by Stockfish. King h5. We're on a simple king walk here. Rook to g2, h4, king c3, king g5, or knight g5, king d4, king g6. All right, so what we got around, and then we have the knight to block it. This is nothing. We're going to get here so fast. Play king b2 and queen. It's easy. It's over from this point. So let's see how we defend. King e5, c4, push the other one. Wow, pushing the other one. Rook f2, knight f7 check, back the king off. Push it again. Pass pawns must be pushed. Rook g2, king f6, and rook over to b2. h6, there's no way to stop this pawn, guys. If you notice, no way to stop the pawn. Virtually over. Rook to b2, pushing the pawn. King e3, and he just lets him queen. Stockfish just says, all right, this is over. This is over. And Leela Chess queens. But what's funny is, Leela Chess didn't queen. c5. Oh my goodness. What an engine, right? c5. You know, I'm going to queen both of them. Rook f2, king to e7, and then rook to f1. c6, rook a1, c7, rook a5, and then the rook's just moving around at this point. Then we have a check, and then we have another check here. This is one of the engine moves, or the computer moves, as they would say, because this is hopeless here. So they go for the one last shot here of check, and then bishop takes, king f3, queen h3, and we're going to checkmate in nice fashion here with a queen on h1. What a game, guys. What a game. What a Sicilian here from Leela Chess, going with knight f5, and then following up with a bishop to h6 was wonderful. This is how you rip open the king side, starting with a rook h to g1, with already having the idea of knight f5 and bishop to h6 to follow. Beautiful game here, guys. This was Leela Chess 0 versus Stockfish. I'm National Master James Canty III here with Chess.com, and this was Game of the Day, and I'll see you guys on the next video.